Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Piercing Pop Culture tonight, where I'm sitting down with some thoughts. I wanted to sit down and talk about something that I've been thinking a lot about, especially in the last few years, and that's finding joy in film. I had an epiphany, especially as an older film goer. This is something that struck me just a few years ago. I'm going to say like 2021, 2022. Well past the film school days, well past the exploration of the classics that I started when I was in school. And that was that I want to find joy in film. And that's been the biggest struggle as a film critic, is frankly, I don't need to necessarily dwell on whether or not a movie is good or a movie is bad. Back in 2021, I sat down and finished all of Roger Corman's filmography, at least that I could find at the time. I think at the time I found all but one. It was like Oklahoma Woman or something that I wasn't able to find. And that was a completionist exercise, because I am one, that shook me a bit to my core. I knew Roger Corman's name going back, years upon years, and had associations that certainly come with his work. To me, when I started doing this, I was ready for bad movies. I was ready for drive-in schlock, not necessarily of the best kind. I had preconceived notions, and why they were, quote, right in some cases, I learned the deeper I got into this experimentation that I didn't care, that I had fun with these movies, that it was often more enjoyable to meet a movie like this where it is than to reject these movies, cast aside these movies. I like seeing the effort. I like seeing the passion. I like seeing the work. Is this a case of seeing a silly monster costume with ping pong ball eyes? Sometimes it is. Movies are communal efforts. They are not always easily made. It's not always easy. It's not always quick. I find myself more inspired sometimes when I can see the effort. It becomes more obtainable than sitting around and, watching the latest big budget effort being filmed in the void for $200 million. I like feeling passion. I like seeing the passion. I like seeing the let's put on a show of it. And that's really what I found myself falling into the deeper I got into Roger Corman's filmography. And that was a deep dive. I did all of those. I read his biography, and then shortly after that, I raced my way through Peter Bogdanovich, who to me is another example of finding passion in film. We're not looking for polish. We're not we're not looking for the gateway. We're not always even looking for cinema. And this has redefined the path that I've taken really as a film viewer in the last few years, and started exploring the most random corners of film and television. And that's what I'm trying to explore here in Piercing Pop Culture. The TV movies, the exploitation films, the Russ Myerses, the nudie cuties. These are the areas that we don't talk about as often. Everybody discusses the classics. I went to film school. I was a kid who did my darndest to race through the AFI Top 100 list. I sat through Citizen Kane 4 times, falling asleep each time before I could finally watch it on the 5th, made it all the way through, and could finally flipping understand what was so well respected about this movie. I love the classics. Singing in the Rain is my gateway film, but we shouldn't define film purely through a good and bad, classic versus schlock kind of lens. Love movies. Find films that give you joy. Find films that you can laugh with, that you can see the effort and you can appreciate the effort that's going on behind the camera. Because there is so much out there that is worthy of a look. And if something like that, even if we're looking at contemporary films through the same mindset, if it can get you creative and get you inspired and let you see that you can get out there and create your own art, I'm all for that, because we shouldn't be constrained by ideas of the big budget, glossy, high dollar thing. There's fun stories being told, there's interesting performances being made, there's stars coming up. There were character actors coming up in the earliest days of Roger Corman, Ed Nelson, Mike Connors, who kept working and doing things much later into their Hollywood careers. Ron Howard, Joe Dante, these are people who all started working in Roger Corman and built careers before stepping out into other things. I love these random, quieter, more rare, more gritty corners of the film industry. And I can't wait to keep exploring more of those. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Find your joy. Explore. Don't be afraid to take a chance on something, because you never know what you'll love. And with that, I will bring this little mini-sode to a close. Thank you for joining me here at Piercing Pop Culture. Right now, I am dropping 2 of these, at least shorter episodes per week, and I can hopefully build up to start doing some longer scripted, hopefully historical episodes. Look for more coming from me every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes those are going to be TV explorations. I have at least one contemporary movie review coming up. So a little bit of varied things coming down the pike, but hopefully I will have something that will keep you entertained. Thank you so much for joining me here at Piercing Pop Culture. Have a good one, all.